There is a strange illusion most people spend their entire lives believing. They think power comes from controlling everything. Controlling outcomes, controlling people, controlling emotions, controlling uncertainty, controlling every detail of life with tight psychological fists. But eventually life humbles everyone. Plans fail, people leave, unexpected problems arrive without permission, the future refuses to obey human anxiety. And somewhere inside this endless battle for control, many adults quietly exhaust themselves. Not because life defeated them, because they tried controlling things never meant to be controlled. Tonight, we are going to explore a paradox that changes the lives of people who truly understand it. The more desperately you cling to small controls, the weaker you become internally. But the moment you relinquish unnecessary control, something extraordinary happens. Your energy returns. Your focus sharpens. Your emotional clarity deepens. And suddenly, you become capable of mastering the things that actually matter. Because true mastery is not obsessive control over everything. It is disciplined surrender to what matters most. Imagine a man standing in the ocean during a violent storm. Waves crash against him endlessly. Wind tears at his balance. The harder he fights every wave individually, the faster he collapses. Then imagine another person. Instead of fighting the ocean directly, they learn its rhythm. They conserve energy, move strategically, adapt intelligently. One exhausts himself trying to dominate every force. The other survives by surrendering intelligently to reality itself. That is the difference between fragile control and real mastery. Most adults spend enormous psychological energy trying to manage tiny uncertainties. They overanalyze text messages, micromanage opinions, obsess over how others perceive them, attempt to predict every possible outcome. And while doing this, they neglect the deeper architecture of their lives. Their health weakens, their discipline disappears, their attention fragments, their purpose becomes blurry. Because control addiction quietly destroys us. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus understood this centuries ago. He taught that suffering intensifies when people confuse what they can control with what they cannot. And modern people constantly blur this line. They attempt controlling external reality while neglecting internal reality. But inner mastery always matters more than external management. You cannot fully control whether people approve of you. You cannot fully control timing, luck, outcomes, or uncertainty. But you can control attention, habits, discipline, focus, response. And those things shape destiny far more profoundly than endless anxiety ever will. There is another hidden reason humans cling to control. Fear. Control creates the illusion of safety. If I predict enough, manage enough, overthink enough, maybe pain can be avoided. But life does not reward obsession with certainty. It rewards adaptability. The philosopher Alan Watts once compared human existence to water. Water does not dominate through rigidity. It dominates through flexibility. It adapts to containers, flows around obstacles, moves patiently. And over time, water shapes stone itself. Modern adults often do the opposite. They become psychologically rigid. They try forcing life into exact expectations. And when reality inevitably changes, they collapse emotionally because their identity depended on certainty. This is why highly controlling people are often deeply anxious internally. Their nervous system is constantly monitoring threats, trying to manage every variable. But mastery requires selective focus, not total control. Imagine an archer aiming at a distant target. The amateur obsessively adjusts every tiny detail while panicking internally. The master simplifies. Breath, posture, release. Then lets the arrow go. Because after release, control no longer exists. Only trust. This principle appears everywhere in life. Relationships fail when people try controlling affection instead of cultivating connection. Creativity dies when artists obsess over audience reaction instead of the work itself. Leadership weakens when people micromanage everything instead of building systems and trust. Even happiness disappears when people obsessively chase emotional certainty instead of learning psychological resilience. There is an ancient Taoist principle called Wu Wei, effortless action, not laziness, alignment, acting without unnecessary resistance. Modern people misunderstand this completely. They assume force creates mastery, but often force creates friction. The harder people cling to small controls, the more mentally scattered they become. Attention leaks everywhere. What did they mean by that message? What if this goes wrong? What if people judge me? What if I fail? And eventually the mind becomes fragmented by endless micromanagement. This destroys ambition, because great ambitions require concentrated energy, not scattered obsession. A person trying to build something meaningful cannot waste their entire psychological bandwidth controlling every minor uncertainty. A writer cannot create while obsessing over every opinion. An entrepreneur cannot lead while fearing every possible criticism. A healthy relationship cannot survive constant emotional surveillance. Mastery requires surrendering lower-level controls to preserve energy for higher-level direction. This is the paradox. When people stop trying to dominate every small variable, they finally gain the power to shape bigger outcomes. There is another painful truth hidden beneath control addiction. Many adults confuse control with identity. They fear surrender because surrender feels like weakness. But intelligent surrender is not weakness. It is strategic clarity. A martial artist does not waste energy resisting every movement aggressively. They redirect force intelligently. A skilled sailor does not control the wind. They learn to navigate. Life works similarly. Strong people are not those who dominate reality endlessly. Strong people are those who remain internally stable while adapting to reality intelligently. This is why emotionally mature individuals often appear calmer than everyone else. Not because their lives are easier. Because they stopped fighting unwinnable psychological battles. They no longer waste emotional energy trying to control other people's opinions, every future outcome, perfect timing, constant reassurance. Instead, they focus intensely on character, discipline, clarity, meaningful action. And this concentrated focus compounds over time. Now let's explore 3 core frameworks behind mastery through surrender. The first is the control illusion. Humans dramatically overestimate how much external reality they can control. This illusion creates chronic anxiety because reality constantly refuses complete management. The more people accept uncertainty intelligently, the calmer and sharper they become psychologically. Acceptance reduces friction. Friction reduction restores energy. The second framework is attention conservation. Attention is life force psychologically. Where attention goes, energy follows. People obsessed with controlling minor uncertainties leak enormous mental energy daily. Mastery emerges when attention becomes disciplined and selective. The third framework is strategic surrender. Strategic surrender means consciously releasing battles that do not serve your highest ambitions. Not because you are weak, because your energy is finite. And finite energy must be directed intentionally. A lion does not chase every animal in the jungle. It chooses strategically. Modern adults exhaust themselves reacting to everything. Notifications, arguments, validation seeking, comparison, fear. And then wonder why they lack energy for meaningful goals. Now here is the practical question. How do you apply this philosophy in real life? The first step is separating controllables from uncontrollables. Take a journal and divide a page into 2 columns. What can I directly influence? What exists outside my control? This exercise sounds simple, but psychologically it is transformative. Because clarity reduces mental chaos immediately. The second step is reducing emotional micromanagement. Stop trying to constantly manage how people perceive you. Not everyone will understand you, approve of you, choose you. And attempting to control perception endlessly destroys authenticity. Focus instead on integrity. The third step is build systems instead of emotional dependence. Disciplined routines remove unnecessary decision fatigue. Sleep properly, train consistently, protect focus, create structure. Strong systems reduce the need for constant emotional control. The fourth step is practice uncertainty deliberately. This is important. Many anxious people avoid uncertainty completely. But resilience develops through exposure. Allow unanswered messages temporarily. Make decisions without endless reassurance. Accept imperfect outcomes occasionally. The nervous system slowly learns, I can survive uncertainty. And that realization creates enormous psychological freedom. The fifth step is stop controlling timing obsessively. Many adults suffer because they constantly compare their timeline to others. Career success, relationships, achievement. But desperation destroys clarity. Focus on preparation instead of panic. A tree grows quietly before becoming visible above ground. The sixth step is surrender ego attachment. Sometimes control addiction is simply ego fearing irrelevance or failure. People want guarantees before acting. But meaningful ambition never comes with guarantees. Artists create without certainty. Entrepreneurs build without certainty. Love requires vulnerability without certainty. Life itself demands risk. And mastery emerges when fear no longer controls movement. The samurai Miyamoto Musashi once wrote, "Do not regret what you have done, because regret often emerges from resistance toward reality itself. What happened happened. Now what?" That question creates forward movement. Imagine holding sand tightly in your fist. The harder you squeeze, the faster it escapes between your fingers. Control works similarly. Desperate attachment creates instability. But an open hand holds sand naturally. Not through force, through balance. This is why inner mastery feels calmer than control addiction. It is rooted in trust. Not passive trust. Earn trust. Trust in your ability to adapt, respond, recover, and continue moving despite uncertainty. And perhaps this is the greatest shift adulthood demands. Stop trying to dominate every moment of life. Learn instead to direct yourself powerfully within life. The ocean will always move unpredictably, but a skilled navigator still reaches meaningful destinations, not because they controlled the sea, because they mastered themselves. Imagine a person walking through a crowded city at night. Noise everywhere, advertisements everywhere, people rushing endlessly. Yet internally, they remain steady. No frantic need for approval, no obsession over uncontrollable outcomes, no desperate grasping at certainty. Just clarity, direction, presence. That is real power. Not controlling life completely, but remaining internally grounded while life moves unpredictably around you. And maybe the deepest form of mastery is this: the ability to relinquish small controls, so your mind, energy, and soul become available for something greater, something meaningful, something worthy of your limited life. Because eventually you realize, trying to control everything is what was controlling you all along. If this resonated with you, share your thoughts below. Sometimes hearing another perspective helps us recognize the invisible ways we exhaust ourselves psychologically. And if you enjoy calm reflections on psychology, philosophy, discipline, and self-mastery, you can subscribe for more.